This is a French movie about submarine warfare, and it starts off well. Really well actually. There's like a 20-30 minute intro sequence that just kicks the movie off right away. It doesn't mess around. And I thought that first part was pretty much excellent. Really well done. With one minor detail I definitely would have changed had I been in charge. But we get dropped right into the action where there's some sort of mission going on. And we get introduced to the crew of this French submarine. With the focus on one particular guy, the sort of protagonist. He's an audio analyst or whatever. He basically listens to every tiny sound the ocean makes and analyzes it. And tries to figure out what's going on around them and where the enemy is. And who the enemy is and what they're doing. And he's kinda good at it too. We soon also learn that there's some sort of large-scale military conflict going on. There aren't many details, but it seems like we're on the brink of World War III. Or it might actually already be going on. So that's basically the setting here. And after that opening sequence, the movie takes a bit of a step back and starts to establish the actual plot. Not that the intro didn't do some of that, but it mostly focuses on introducing the characters. And when it slows down a little, it also introduces a bit of a romance angle, which in a military thriller usually feels forced or just cheesy. But in this I thought it was kinda cute, mainly because of the characters and the performances. These two people just have great chemistry and I bought it. Unfortunately that whole thing only has a fairly minor function, as far as the actual plot goes, and it did feel a tiny bit contrived. Which was a shame, but again I liked the dynamic and the relationship. So it wasn't a huge issue, but ideally there would have been more to it. And well, then we get to the meat and potatoes of the story. The plot really kicks into gear with this major conflict and we're back to the warfare portion. And there was some really clever stuff in there, not gonna lie. I liked most of what they did with it. I thought it really worked. Now toward the very end there were some things that felt a little bit cheesy. But overall I really liked where they took this story. It's actually well written. And thematically, this whole thing feels like a bit of a throwback to the 80s and the 90s, where you used to see a lot of these military thrillers. And then they sort of disappeared, and I feel like I haven't seen a movie like this in years. Or actually, now that I think about it, there are still movies like this being made. But they're all super cheap B movies. Straight to DVD stuff that's not really worth watching. This though feels like a real movie, with some actual money and actual talent behind it. I mean, this doesn't feel cheap at all, apart from some slightly iffy CGI toward the end. And the acting is really good, I had no issues with it whatsoever. The writing is pretty decent too, and overall I thought it was a competently made movie. It was fun, intense, it was kinda clever too. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's even a quote in it that stuck with me and that I'm probably gonna butcher. But it goes something like, "A well-run sub is quieter than the sea." And I don't know, that sort of distilled the essence of the movie for me. And the philosophy of the crew in the sub too. They're all pros, expert in their own right, and they take their job very seriously. And they sold me on it. I believed they were an actual submarine crew. Not once did I doubt they were actual people doing their actual jobs. Except toward the very end, there were some slightly questionable stuff there. It honestly did get a tad bit too Hollywood there for a moment. There were a thing or two I would have personally done differently. So I didn't completely love the ending, but I very much enjoyed the rest of it. That being said, as a whole, I don't think it's an exceptional movie, but it's a very solid military thriller that worked well enough for the most part. It did exactly what it was supposed to do, and I had a good time with it. But would I recommend it? If you like these kind of movies, absolutely. If not, it's probably not gonna blow you away, so you can probably skip it. Or you can do whatever you feel like, because I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself a nuclear submarine. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.